Welcome back to a best of 3 series of top level StarCraft 2. Now what I've got for you today is a Terran versus Terran between two of the very best in that specific race. Spawning here in the top left hand corner of the map Ephemeron. That's map number 1 of the series, playing with the red Terran SCVs. We have one of the most dominant StarCraft 2 players of all time, and he goes by the name of INnoVation. Now, if you're subscribed to this YouTube channel, you probably know that I cast quite a few INnoVation games. And generally speaking, most of the time, he is favored in the matches that I cast because this guy has a tendency to win. This time around, however, I feel like he's gonna have a very tough road ahead of him because spawning in the opposite corner and playing with the blue Terran colors, we're looking inside of the main base of the #1 Terran player in the world, and his nickname is Maru. Alrighty, so here we go. 2 titans of the Terran race. Should be an absolute treat. As you probably know, I've become a big fan of TVT, especially over the last couple of months. The matchup really has developed into something that's absolutely beautiful. Most of the time, the games do still end in like the early game, so it's very easy to make a small little miss micro, and oftentimes that can spell disaster right then and there. So some of the games that I've casted actually have really gone the distance though. So oftentimes we see players opening up with that bio tank after going for like the 1-1-1. So usually it's 1 factory, 1 barracks, 1 starport, and they make like a variety of units. A couple of cyclones, a couple of ravens and all that, right? But usually if the game stabilizes from there, the game goes into that marine tank based composition. Once Terrans, though, go up to like 4 or 5 bases, they can make the transition towards like a second factory and potentially go on into Terran mech. And then in the ultimate late game, right, when players try to remax, oftentimes we see that full-on Sky Terran force as well, based around battle cruisers and ravens. So I've become a big fan of this matchup. There's a lot of layers to it. I mean, you can technically go straight into mech as well if that's what you like. But I think we should be in for a very, very fun series. Already though, Maru ended up scouting with an SCV here, exactly what his opponent was going for. Likewise for Inno, he knows that indeed it's going to be a more tech-focused opener here for Maru. Maru going for the second refinery already, whereas in the main base of INnoVation, that one has not been taken just yet. That does mean that INnoVation is going to have a slight economical upper hand, but here's where the first fight will go down between the Reapers. Let's see who gets the first hit off. It's very critical. Looks like for now, actually, INnoVation should be okay. That SCV a little bit behind. Likely will end up getting picked off here. Yep, that one will indeed end up dying. Likewise, actually, for Inno, he made the right call right there to target fire down that one SCV, but it did take a little bit more damage right now, the Reaper that is, so that means another SCV falls. 2 Marines are being produced. Actually, there was a second Reaper also moving across the map. That's huge, actually, here for Maru. But 2 Marines are being produced as well as a Hellion. So eventually, Inno should be okay. The question is he going to be able to finish up that command center in time? Not only does he need it for economy, he also needs it for supply. SCV falls before the command center finishes. And now a Hellion has been sent across the map here for Maru too. This is the downside for going for that super quick expo, right? If you miss micro for even just a second, your command center will be delayed. Luckily for Inno, it will finish up here eventually without him getting supply blocked. But that's still 3 SCVs right now going down versus only a single one on the other side of the map. Cyclone is coming up here as well. Maru actually now going for a Medivac too. So that indicates to me that he wants to ferry units towards the other side of the map. Maybe do some nice little bit of pickup micro as well. That does mean, though, he's going to be able to deal damage if he micros really cleanly, right? So that micro has to be on point. We'll see in just a second. INnoVation, obviously very well known for being that machine, very mechanical Terran player. He loves playing the defensive approach, so wouldn't be surprised here if he's going to be okay as far as like microing all of that goes. He's already got a Raven coming up here. Now, I love this. Look at that. Maru. Ooh, not paying attention there actually for just a second. He could have probably sniped this one Hellion. Very critical to pay attention to that mini-map and to respond as fast as possible. Little bit of a misplay there, although this Hellion might still be in a little bit of trouble. Medivac, though, filled up with units. 1 Cyclone here already inside of it, as well as 4 Marines. Second Cyclone now coming out as well. Is Maru just going to rally these across the map too? Wouldn't be surprised to see them moving here in just a little bit, but here we go. Here's once again where that Maru, or rather that micro rather, becomes very, very impressive and very, very important as well. So far, so good here for INnoVation. A lot of damage is being done, though, on both sides. That one auto turret actually being an absolute nuisance. Eventually, it does time out. And Hellion from earlier also gets picked up. That does mean, actually, that now additional reinforcements are sent across the map as well for Maru. Nice pickup right there on that Cyclone. Tries to prevent that lock-on from dealing a tremendous amount of damage. Ravens are being produced on both sides of the map as well. One Mule apparently is sent off the mineral line for absolutely no apparent reason because they can't actually attack. A lot of damage, though, is being done right here by the young South Korean Terran player. Maru is picking up 9 SCV kills just like that. Now, brilliant pickup, Micro, once again. Eventually, though, the medevac does go down. Is this enough damage? Cyclone actually falls there for INnoVation. Is this enough damage right now? Is he going to be able to stabilize? Actually, Raven also goes down. Siege tanks? Are there any siege tanks right now? Yeah, there is a siege tank coming up. One of them actually already rolling across the map. Eventually, Inno is going to get his own tank out here, too. Ooh, what a clutch early game. Already, though, like 11 SCVs, that's a terrible amount. You don't want to be losing that much economy here. So even if Maru decides to go home here, he's still going to be in a beautiful position. Beautiful lock-on as well, actually. Oh, my God. Raven just barely, actually, no, the Raven was providing the vision, but the Cyclone just barely did not roll far enough forward. With the lock-on right now negated, though, he should be okay here. Siege tank is going to be repaired back up, and it's also in siege mode, but Maru has sent his own tank in. And obviously with that Raven, he can get maximum vision so that siege tank can continue firing here as well. Doesn't have any energy for a interference matrix, but he does have energy for 2 of these auto turrets, and that's exactly what he decides to drop right there next to the tank. Siege tank from the high ground right now as well. Could actually target fire down this one super low hit point Cyclone, but he's prioritizing the killing right there of the auto turret. Looks like the tank will live. Ooh. Cyclone does indeed fall. INnoVation decides to drop one of his own auto turrets as well down, but that's not going to be enough. That command center, though, taking an awful lot of damage. And obviously, in the meantime, while this is all going on, right, Maru is macroing at home. Look at the supply counts. Small trades here and there lead to huge advantages over time. And while I feel like Maru could probably go home, oh my God, it's going from bad to worse. Yeah, this is game over. INnoVation taps out. Game number 1 goes in favor of Maru. Okay, so just like that, we already find ourselves in game number 2 on the map Nightshade. Now, I know for the most part, right, whenever I cast games of StarCraft 2, especially if it's like a single match, I tend to favor the longer games, just because those are usually the more exciting games to watch as we see the players transitioning towards, you know, the later stages of the game and towards higher tier units. Most of the time, though, especially in the mirror matchups in StarCraft 2, so Terran versus Terran, Protoss versus Protoss, and Zerg versus Zerg, one mistake in the early game can be just game over right then and there. And I feel like this previous game, well, I mean, it wasn't just one mistake, obviously. It was a couple of small errors that really ended up costing INnoVation the game there. But it can very quickly capitalize if you... you can very quickly capitalize on an advantage if you do get that advantage in the early game. So it can be game over super quickly if you're not very careful. We'll see what Maru ends up doing here in game number 2. Once again, decides to go here for, well, the second refinery. Are we going to be seeing the same thing on the other side? Yes, we will. INnoVation does not dare to go for the fast CC on the low ground again. We'll favor to go for the faster 1-1-1 instead. I think it's the correct call, my man. I think it's the correct call. That means you're going to have a little bit more of an army available, and this is just like a safer all-round way to open up in Terran versus Terran in general. Now, obviously, most of the time, right, you will find your opponent not microing as well as Maru does, so you can get away with, with small risks like going for the CC on the low ground, but I think you're most of the time better off going for the bit of a faster factory and just, you know, making sure you get that second Reaper out and all that, right? Like, it's so easy to miss micro with the first Reaper, and it can just be game over so quickly if you make that small mistake. Hope, though, we're gonna transition into a bit of a longer game this time around. But not gonna lie, I don't mind opening up with some fireworks. Anyways, look at the production tab. Basically identical. Wouldn't be surprised if both players end up rallying once again that SCV here to the low ground in a second. As they will likely want to go for the command center here after starting up the factory. As you can see, though, INnoVation playing super cautiously this time around. He knows that Maru is very well known for playing macro games, but he also knows that Maru is not afraid to go for, like, you know, full-on cheese. So he's scouting around right here with the Reaper for just a little bit, making sure he covers all of his tracks and that he is not going to be caught with his pants down here. Maru, though, not doing any of that. He's just sitting here, right? You can play cautiously if you like, but no need to play too cautiously. So, double Reaper available. Hellion also joins in. And in a typical INnoVation fashion, he's just going to sit here and wait. He knows that Maru will likely be aggressive here in a little bit. 2 Reapers actually now move across the map. Try to figure out if maybe there's going to be any kind of like proxy or anything, you know, hidden outside of the main base here of INnoVation. Should be okay though for the time being. So command centers are coming up. Cyclones are once again coming up as well. So it's a tech lab right here as well. Okay, so it's double tech lab right now for INnoVation, whereas on the other side of the map we see a reactor and a tech lab. It does mean that Maru is going to be able to get his marine army out a little bit quicker. We'll have to see if he decides to swap it over here with the starport in just a little bit, but maybe go for like a more tech-based approach himself. I always like this. Going for the double tech lab always seems to work well for me. Usually in StarCraft 2, it's a little bit easier to be the aggressive player, right? So if you're the one in charge of the matchup, usually it's a little bit easier to play. So I like going for the double tech lab because it allows you to be more aggressive if you want to be. Alright, so Cloaking Field is coming up for Maru. He decides to go for a couple of Banshees this time around. And even though both players know that the opponent is out there somewhere, neither of them is really committing with any kind of information. Any kind of innovation is what I was going to say, but no, any kind of information. Eventually, though, apparently, wants to make a bit of a move out. Gets the kill right there on the Hellion, but of course, he's going back home because he's INnoVation. So INnoVation, his nickname is The Machine, and for very good reason. The way that he plays StarCraft 2 is awfully mechanical. If you want to learn how to play Terran in general, and you want to play some safe build orders, you should probably go with the ones that INnoVation is playing, just because this man really does not like taking any risks. He relies most of the time by not cutting any corners, but just simply playing better than the opponent. So usually players like that, their build orders are going to be very good to copy from. So for example, for Zerg, you have Serral, who loves playing similarly. Takes very little risks, just tries to play the the longer macro games and just tries to be safe against literally everything. And I guess for Protoss, someone like Showtime or someone like Stats will be great, because usually they also like playing that more defensive style that will just simply be good against everything. So if you're looking for build orders, I would just simply find some replays of those, 3-4 players, depending on race you play, and go from there. I love that though. Tried to grenade there to prevent the Reaper from going down immediately. Scan inside of the main base confirms exactly what's going on, and it's obvious that both of the players really are just testing the waters. Now, he did get the Cloaking Field done. There's... where is it? There are 2 Banshees. Okay, I was going to say, did he go for the double Banshee? I wasn't paying attention to it. So one right here is in the top right-hand corner of the map, and one is moving towards the bottom left-hand corner. I think what he wants to do is depend on his opponent's inability to defend 2 bases very easily at once. So I think what he wants to do is strike in the main base and the natural at the same time, knowing that his opponent is only going to have one source of detection. Well, he needs to go soon, though. I mean, okay, they're just hanging out in opposite corners of the map. Ravens are available right now, and missile turrets are going up. I don't think that... actually, there's already 3 Ravens right now, and then also a double missile turret. I don't think there's really going to be that much damage that those Banshees can really do. Obviously, INnoVation, though, ended up scanning, right? He knew exactly what was going on here. He probably knew the timings of what he was going up against as well, so he didn't really take any unnecessary risks. Now, I like this. INnoVation going straight up into the mech army. Adding on additional factories, adding on 2 armories here as well. This is definitely the INnoVation-based style. He actually said in an interview recently that he doesn't like moving around with his units. That's literally what he said. He's like, I don't like moving around. I just want to make a lot of shit and then go kill you. Maru, on the other hand, though, he's going for a more bio-focused approach. So he's adding on additional barracks, and he's adding on that Stimpack upgrade. And he's probably, there you go, got the double engineering bay done as well. So he's going to start producing those upgrades. Both styles are very reasonable, actually. Both styles are very good. In general, it seems like most of the top-tier Terran players, they favor that bio-based army. Especially the Korean Terrans, they're a big fan of that bio-based force. So, for example, Cure, TY, they pretty much all tend to go for that marine-based army as well. But as you can see, I mean, INnoVation obviously plays at the highest level. He likes going for the mech army. It's a good style to play, as long as you are paying very close attention. The downside of playing Terran Mech is that you need to be in position at the right time. So INnoVation, now obviously is going to have that defender's advantage, but if like a bunch of units drop in his main base, he can't get there in time, right? So positioning here is absolutely critical. Raven's also huge, by the way. Raven's super helpful. Looks like one of these tanks will be picked off pretty easily. So far, so good. For Inno. Yeah, I don't think you can really get much done, Maru. Just go home. Yeah. All right. So excellent defense right there for INnoVation. But here's the thing, right? You never really know if like a medevac is sitting over here ready to like jump into your natural mineral line. Or say like there's a bunch of units over here that jump into your main base instead. The Terran Bio army is so much more mobile compared to that of the Terran Mech Force. Now this is also curious though. Look at Maru. Sitting there outside of his opponent's, I guess, third base. What an odd position to just like idle in. Gets a couple of Hellions for his troubles though, I guess. But needs to be careful. Marine's obviously great against these Vikings too. Ooh. The skirmish, man. You can see the respect though of both of these guys, right? Like you can see that they're very clearly aware of how good the opponent is, and they don't really want to take any risks. On the ladder, I feel like someone would have already pulled the trigger to just go and fight and, you know, see if they can end it. Usually, Terran Mech becomes more powerful the longer the game goes on. So, wouldn't be surprised to see 2-2 upgrades starting up here very quickly for INnoVation. If he doesn't want to go for an attack, and honestly, it's INnoVation, so he probably doesn't want to go for an attack. He will probably go 2-2 and just try and max out and then push. A couple of Hellions move across, mostly just for scouting purposes. These are cheaper than a scan. So a scan obviously is the cost of a mule, and well, a mule mines more resources than these two Hellions are worth. He gets 4 SCVs for his troubles too. Definitely worth it. Still decides to scan in the main base, and now indeed reveals that the double starport transition is already coming up. So that's going to be 3 starports here in total. The importance of the air army is primarily there so you can obviously shut down your opponent's drops and all that, but also because of the fact that siege tanks can shoot away further than they can see. So if you have air dominance, you can essentially force your opponent to back off just because your siege tanks can see further away than your opponents, unless they obviously decide to scan, but that's not really a very good long-term strategy until later on into the game where both players have a lot of economy and a lot of command centers to play with. So far, though, it seems like in these 10 minutes, right, both players are just really building up their forces, and they're really just constantly testing the waters. Taking 0 gambles, taking no risks whatsoever, and despite them taking a very different approach in this game so far, the supply counts are pretty much dead even. I guess Cyclones will die eventually to a bunch of Blue Flame Hellions. Yeah, I was gonna say, INnoVation. Gotta pay attention, my man. I guess it's because he was also busy actually now dropping inside of his opponent's main base and natural. Ooh, he kills an awful lot of SCVs with a couple of those Blue Flame Hellbats. Nicely done, actually. The thing is, though, SCVs, they kind of feel negligible at a certain point, right? Like, yeah, killing SCVs at the 4-minute mark, that's huge. Killing SCVs at, like, the 10-minute mark, though, it's... Yeah, well, obviously, 19 SCVs is nothing to scoff at, right? But it's not nearly as significant as you might imagine. I mean, mules just take over, and you can see, I mean, with, like, this amount of command centers out, Maru can just, you know, replenish his SCV count very quickly as well. Now, I like this. Look at this. Big Daddy Thor is being added into the mix. So, INnoVation is literally just going the most mechanical-based unit composition ever, building his unit composition primarily around siege tanks, Thors, Vikings, and Ravens. Usually, you can transition out of this as well into battlecruisers quite easily. So we'll see if that's going to be a thing here in a little bit. He needs to start up the 3-3 upgrades here in a bit as well. A little bit, actually, he's prioritizing upgrades, or units rather. I wonder if he wants to go for a push here. Once again, Hellions managed to get into the mineral line, and honestly, this is getting a little bit sloppy right now for Maru. Yeah, he's been sitting out in the middle of the map for a long time, but it also immediately means that he's not going to be able to really defend his bases nearly as easily, right? And that's an additional 16 SCVs that fall. Now, 39 in total. Most of the time, when Terran players sit back a little bit further, we can see these Vikings, for example, rallying back and forth over here, maybe a couple over here. That way you can you can catch those Hellbat drops without really getting into too much trouble. INnoVation also, by the way, committing like the absolute bare minimum, right? He's not taking any risks, just Hellions, right? These are minerals. He doesn't need minerals. Like, he's got plenty of those. He's maxed out right now. His mineral count will spike very quick. 3-3 upgrades are coming up. Scanning the main base once again confirms. No tech labs right there on those starports yet. So I feel like it really comes down to INnoVation to make a move. Is this the moment? Is this the moment where he wants to make an aggressive push across the map? He's adding on his additional starports right now. But this positioning here from Maru, though, how are you going to break that? I guess you need like a couple of liberators here. Oh, well, interference matrix, I guess, works as well. Oh my god, huge anti-armor missile right there on all of those units of Maru. That means that the Thors can just simply shoot those Vikings out of the sky. Absolute air dominance right here for INnoVation as he just simply steamrolls over that army of Maru. Shutting down the siege tanks turned out to be an absolute disaster for the young Terran player from South Korea. Maru, you gotta be careful, dude. Whew. Okay. Still in typical INnoVation fashion. He's not gonna push any further than he absolutely needs to. Pulls those 3 tanks that were set up at his third base instead. Probably will leapfrog forward right now as he's making the switch towards an even stronger force here. 3-3 upgrades will finish up in a little bit. But man, the force here of INnoVation is just so powerful. Yeah, GG is called straight up. Maru is forced to GG out. Alrighty, so here we go. Game number 3. We find ourselves on the map Simulacrum, and Maru is sending out an SCV very early on into this game. I think that previous game, though, it pretty much showcases why nobody likes playing macro against INnoVation. Like, honestly, that game wasn't even close. INnoVation just didn't really make any mistakes. And while Maru obviously wasn't playing badly whatsoever, he just simply ended up losing SCVs here and there. He was playing a little bit more sloppily, and he just got absolutely smashed. Like, that wasn't even close. It showcases really why INnoVation is still known as the macro god. And, well, apparently Maru, he doesn't really like it very much. Decides to go for the barracks right over here. Probably will go for a second barracks as well. Refinery already coming up, so I think this is going to be a little bit of Reaper cheese. This is what makes Maru very scary, though. INnoVation, in a way, and this is, like, I would say his biggest weakness, he's very predictable. Oh my god, no way! Okay, well, Maru is also predictable in the sense that he likes going for the cheeses. And INnoVation just finds out about it immediately. Wow, okay, very, very, very early scout. That's pretty much as good as it could be. The thing is, though, even when you know that this is coming, it's not like you're necessarily in that much of a better position. Getting a little bit of work done already, though, slowing down that second barracks quite a bit. If he can kill, like, these SCVs, that would be huge. Reaper's coming out. Oh my god, this is already going from bad to worse. One SCV falls, and that barracks, is it ever going to finish? Love this as well, actually, from INnoVation. Just goes back, right? He doesn't want to lose the SCVs. He knows the Reaper will be out here in a little bit. Takes minimum risk and just simply sits now at home. Going for the double refinery, going for the factory. This should be a-okay for him, right? It should be really good. Now, there is this little jump-up pad right over here on Simulacrum, so the main base is pretty easily accessible, which is why Maru decided to proxy right over here. Oh, nice push there, actually, as well from Inno. Decides to take control of the high ground here. Do you want to build a bunker here, do you think? I don't know. I mean, he probably knows better than I do, but I feel like you want to make a bunker in that location would not be a bad idea. Maybe he's feeling very confident, though. The thing is, I've seen Maru pull rabbits out of hats with Reapers and units and micro in general. Oh my god, this little jump-up puzzle is a mess. Yeah, no, this is just shut down. In a little bit, we're going to have like a Hellion out as well, right? And that's going to change the tide of battle very quickly. This is still not great, though, for INnoVation. Is he going to kill that? Yeah, he will kill that. Hellion is out. Marines are being produced. And despite him skipping the bunker, yeah, he's still going to be 100% okay. Beautiful micro there, actually, by Inno. Nicely done. Both players end up losing one worker, but obviously this slows down the Terran player in blue quite a bit. The thing is, though, you don't want to overestimate. I feel like I've said the thing is, though, like 17 times already. But anyways, the thing is, though, it's day 1 of quarantine, okay, guys? What can I say? We're all quarantined here in the Netherlands. Everyone's a little bit worried about the whole corona situation. The thing is, though, guys, you can't overestimate the advantage. Yes, you shut this down. Obviously, yeah, your opponent ended up, like, building another barracks and stuff. And yeah, the Reapers didn't really get much done. But it's not like they invested that much, right? Like, obviously, they invested, like, 1 additional barracks. But that can be used right now for scouting. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, Maru is still just going for the factory, still just going for the command center. Probably will still add on the starport here. Well, as soon as he has got the money for it. If he gets like a couple of SCV kills, it really is going to be just fine. Already INnoVation though, following this up with a Banshee. His command center is now actually later than his opponent's, which is kind of crazy. Cyclone also comes out. He's going to be able to defend this, but, I mean, he needs to also get more aggressive, I feel like. Just playing super defensively here, not ideal. Cyclone is sitting at home. He's going to get himself the Mag Field Accelerator upgrade as well, which is basically an improvement to the lock-on. Right now, I think that this Banshee will probably be used more defensively, because obviously it's an INnoVation Banshee. A lot of players would love to send this one straight across the map. Now, this is a little bit awkward. Maru actually saw it first, so this Banshee will be denied for now. But, you know, knowing that there's a Banshee out on the map, it kind of forces Maru into a more defensive posture. You really can't move out with this Cyclone until later. Okay, so. In the grand scheme of things, INnoVation has an advantage, I would say. But it's primarily in his army count. I feel like he needs to get something done here, because Maru does have a slight economical advantage with the timing right there of that command center. INnoVation actually decides to go for the third base already. That's pretty greedy. I actually quite like the idea though, because he knows his opponent knows that there's a Banshee out, so he knows that his opponent knows he's not going to be able to move out very easily, and therefore obviously he doesn't need to expect that much counter pressure either. Bit of a mind game there from Inno, but I think it's very calculated and it makes a lot of sense. This force here though is not to be underestimated, right? Like Banshees, yeah, they're probably countered here, but if they can force even just to scan and then just get out, they're still going to be amazing, right? They're still going to be super useful. There you go. That's one scan. Lock-on already wasted. One lock-on still available. Is he going to be able to get one of these? Okay, one of them does fall. Second one, the Banshee moves out of the range. And while eventually, I'm assuming this one will go down too. You can see the amount of damage that's already being done right now, though, by INnoVation. 10 SCVs, 11 SCVs going down. All of the units on the top section of this battle do get picked off. Maru does kill the final Banshee too, but that's 12 workers. So while the INnoVation advantage was primarily an army previously, right now he's at a small army disadvantage, but he's got a very significant economical lead, which is exactly where he likes to be. A couple of Reapers were left over, so I'm assuming they might be able to jump into the main base uncontested here. Yeah, actually, there's really not that much available right now for Inno. Decides to unsiege the tank. Ooh. Wow, those 3 Reapers from earlier actually getting a lot of work done. Maru microing as good as he could at home. Oof. I think that's probably why you want to play a little bit more conservatively with that Banshee, right? So, INnoVation, like, he had the Banshee right over here, and then he, like, inched it back into that scan circle. It's just a bit of a gamble. Just a bit of a gamble, because if that Banshee was still on the other side, right? It could have forced units at home, and it, at the very least, like, forced Maru to play a lot more defensively. Or, obviously, if it was sent back home, like the Banshee, that is, right? It could have easily killed those couple of Reapers. All of a sudden, the supply count is pretty much dead even. This third command center won't be able to achieve very much. Maru, once again, in the driver's seat here. Tries to be a little bit more aggressive. Oh, I like this too. Siege tank in the main base in a lot of trouble. Will be picked off. A couple of SCVs will get killed as well. And Maru, wow. Clawing his way back into the game. Essentially evening up the score right now. Mag Field Accelerator now coming up here as well for INnoVation. It is going to be additional factories this time around. So Maru definitely will be playing the Terran mech-based army too. And likewise, the same can be said for INnoVation. He's going for additional factories at this moment as well. So I can imagine that this is likely going to be more of like a standoff here in a little bit. Still though, Maru is really focused on making those cyclones. So, not really the siege tank heavy approach, but a little bit different. Now, interference matrix was utilized right there on one of these tanks. Not really achieving that much. A couple of auto turrets though, super helpful. Another interference matrix will be used as well. Now with the auto turrets, you know, wow, gone. Yeah, those couple of cyclones get so much work done. Maru, he was what seemed to be dead in the water just a little bit ago, but he's now making an amazing move here. Dealing a lot of damage on his opponent's side of the map, and INnoVation is starting to fall apart. Now, he does have a lot of reinforcing units coming up as well. Most of these units are very low on hit points. Not that much energy here available either for Maru on those Ravens. Still enough, though, for one auto turret. So that forces that one Hellion back off as well. Maru almost like using this last Cyclone here, the one at like red hit points, as bait. Eventually, though, the 2 in red hit points do get picked off. 8 additional workers go down. And, well, the third command center, guess what? It's secured on the other side of the map. A lot of multitasking here happening. Inno obviously has had that third command center up for a little while longer, so he's been mining more resources because of it. Having that extra mule out really does help. He needs to get his third command center down to the low ground here as soon as possible, though. Because Maru is not slowing down with that economy whatsoever. Oh my god, the micro here. Nicely done there, once again, by Maru. That's going to bring his total factory count up to 5. Are we going to see a more, like, traditional Terran mech army here in a little bit? Or is he going to stick around with this, like, battle mech army? So, the battle mech army, both players are actually now doing the same thing. The battle mech army is the one where you focus a lot more on Hellions and then also those Cyclones, and a lot less on siege tanks and Thors and all that. So, it's a different approach to Terran mech than we saw in the second game by INnoVation. This is a much more mobile version of this this kind of matchup. I think this one Viking is probably gonna land behind the mineral line. Vikings deal bonus damage to mechanicals, so they're actually surprisingly good against SCVs and probes. There you go. 3-shotting them. Nicely done. And this obviously now opens up the opportunity as well for INnoVation to move forward. Now, no siege tank or whatever set up. Is there enough damage output right now for INnoVation to push forward here? I think he might have just barely enough. One auto turret just once again land. A couple of the boys were pulled off the mineral line as well to soak some of that damage. 5 SCVs in the meantime, or 3 SCVs rather in the meantime inside of that main base. Siege tank now also hanging out over there. And I love this. Maru, somehow, some way, found the APM to send a Cyclone across the map too. It will be picked off without getting any kills right there on any of those Cyclones here. But, wait, it was a Liberator. Did I call it a Cyclone? Anyways, Liberator was sent across the map rather than a Cyclone. You get what I'm trying to say. But it forced some of that army of Maru to stabilize over here. Both players taking a tremendous amount of damage. Neither of them really at a big advantage. That actually rhymed. Can someone put that in a quote book of mine? Thank you very much. Well, those 4 Hellions rather scouted that Liberator here as well. Question is, was he paying attention? Of course he was. His name is Maru. What do you mean, Lowko? Was he paying attention? They're trying to say that this man is a human? Not possible. INnoVation knows that his man is human as well. So, or not human, rather. So he stand right there. And he knew that his opponent would have countered that Liberator already. So no use in trying. I'm always a big fan of this unit composition. It really kind of fell off over like the last half year or so. I haven't seen this heavy of a focus in Cyclone Hellion in quite some time. There's a couple of siege tanks right now set up as well for Maru. He's now also setting up like a semi-wall here with a couple of those supply depots. At the same time, Hellions were sent in. These will probably be killed relatively easily. But then also, on the other side of the map, INnoVation is trying to get into a good spot, forcing the energy, though, to deplete out of all of those Ravens. Once those auto turrets are gone, these Cyclones can potentially go back in. Still, those siege tanks in the back, right? The siege tanks are so scary. They deal so much damage to this army. If you let them fire a couple times, it can be game over so easily. Additional factories once again coming up. That brings the total up to 8. Not quite that many here inside of the main base of INnoVation. He's adding on armories right now at the front. Not sure if I like that positioning all too much about there on these armories, but a couple of siege tanks do go down. Good lock on micro there once again by INnoVation. Poking in and out of this location on the map. And he goes for the 4th base. This feels very much so like a different INnoVation we're watching right now though, right? So aggressive, so out into the map. Really not, yeah, he's just rallying units in. Look at this. Really not playing the way that he's very well known to play. The boys were angry there for a little bit. This, I don't like this, man. Why do Terran players keep doing this? Why are the double armory right outside of the 3rd base? Like, this is such a vulnerable location. Why not put it over here? I guess his plan is just to be aggressive and to never go, like, home. So it's okay, but it feels like it's such a gamble. 4th base right now flying over as well now for Maru, though, who's playing the more defensive approach. He's going to finish up his own 1-1 upgrades here. The Liberator finally found a location where it can deal some damage, so this is a very annoying spot to be in right now. At the same time, Maru is actually now unsieging all of his tanks, and he's making what seems to be a move across the map. One siege tank gets microed upwards just a little bit. Definitely a nice engagement right here for Maru. Interference matrices, though, do come in a little bit late. 4 siege tanks were produced, and it does mean that is going to be just fine. Liberator in the main base also picked off, I think, that one Cyclone, or maybe one of these. I don't know exactly. But a Cyclone or something at the very least ended up killing the Liberator inside of the main base. Defender's advantage right now, though, once again, huge here for INnoVation. He doesn't have any Ravens, and he doesn't really have any air units, so he needs to be super cautious. These Ravens don't have energy other than, like, energy for auto turrets, so no interference matrices. Command Center, though, starting to take a lot of damage. Hello? INnoVation. Wakey, wakey, my man. You're gonna lose the Command Center. No! Don't let it burn down. Oh, my God. It burns down. He loses the Command Center up north, too. Massive blunder right there by INnoVation. Obviously, he's microing like 17 different things at once, but the command center, being shot at by like 1 or 2 tanks there for most of the time, eventually accounted to it being killed. Ooh. Yeah, that certainly was not planned right there for Inno. He's now trying to lock onto the command center himself, trying to see if he can deal the counter damage, but only 3. Oh my God, that was sick. Only 3 SCVs end up getting killed here. Look at the amount of them in red hit points. Maru didn't even pull the boys. He knew that he was going to be okay there. Command center did not fall, and that just cost INnoVation a huge chunk of his supply. That felt to me like a bit of a desperation move. So despite INnoVation being at a huge advantage earlier, Maru all of a sudden shows us how good he really is. Oh, the siege tanks are all the way out there. Cyclones, though, and a couple of tanks now also move around. SCVs are starting to fall. The question is, can INnoVation hold on? Got a couple of tanks now in good positions as well, but not really the vision here required to shoot away at these tanks properly. A couple of units now also pushing at the front. The 4 tanks are going to be super critical, but obviously they're also like, clumped up, so splash damage can be massive. Both players, though, end up taking a lot of damage as Hellions actually now were on the other side of the map too. So 17 SCVs ended up going down there on the side of Maru. Couple of Hellions now also lining up those blue flames. 28 workers in total here for the Terran player in red ended up going down. Oh, INnoVation is holding on, it seems like. This tank will also get picked off. No units remain here inside of the main base. Once again, another Hellion. Oh my God! Oh, that could have killed so much again. No luck there at all for INnoVation, though, right? If that would have gotten like 1 or 2 more shots off, I think this entire mineral line would have been dead. Excellent response time right there by Maru. But we have over 100 worker kills right now in a TVT. That's nuts. Still, though, like, I'm looking at the economy here, right? It's such a big tell. Maru just simply has way more workers, way more command centers, and way more army, right? He's got better upgrades, too. He's ahead in, like, all of the aspects of StarCraft that are important. Bigger army, bigger upgrades, bigger economy, more workers. Difficult to come back from that position. And look at that. Oh, my God. INnoVation does not have enough repair right there to out-repair the DPS of those couple of Cyclones. He's sitting here with a couple of tanks. I think he may want to try and see if he can go for what seems to be a bit of a run-by, but... Eventually, he does kill those Cyclones, though, which is awesome, but his economy is absolutely in shatters right now. That was his main CC as well, actually, so the main command center went all the way over there. Maru decides to get more aggressive. Sends most of his units across the map. That does now mean that these siege tanks could potentially get into a really good spot, though. They all of a sudden appear from nowhere. The boys are pulled. The siege tank is indeed lifted. This creates a bit of breathing room here for INnoVation. But does he even dare to start up another command center right now? I don't see it really happening. Cyclones are back home. Siege tanks get picked off. GG is called. And Maru wins this best of 3 series in a 2-1 fashion. Ridiculous. Awesome series. Awesome games. I hope you enjoyed watching them. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below. If you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get notified as soon as I upload more. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile alright. And I will see you once again in the next one.